I'd like to invite Mr. Bob Kirke from the Canadian Apparel Federation back to our virtual stage, along with Pam Bokser. She's from Giant Tiger, a very well-known brand in Canada. And then also joining us is Marvin Libman, consultant on global manufacturing. So Bob will be leading this discussion here, interviewing these two Canadian apparel experts. So Bob, and I just want to remind everybody that we do have a chat function. So if there's any questions for any of our panelists today, please post them in the chat box and we will address them at the very end. So what's yours, Bob?
Great. So thank you. We may be joined by one other person, Peter Domino from Boston Traders. He may be having a little difficulty joining, but if he comes in, we will welcome him. So I want to thank the people that are on the line. I want to thank our panelists. We put together just a very, very open discussion about what is going on in terms of imports. And so, of course, you know, we're all living through the year that we didn't want. You know, seemingly every day there's another absurd challenge, be it a shooting down the block in Montreal, and that's just, you know, that's just today. So a lot of companies in trouble, a lot of headlines dominated by restructurings. And again, if you look at sort of the global picture, everyone's saying, oh my goodness, all these factories abroad are being, you know, abandoned by their brands. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. So instead of sort of digging into that, I want to have just a very open discussion with a couple of people that really know their stuff. I've known Marvin for 25 years. I've known Pam for not so long, but they both really have a great handle on managing imports. So
wish
maybe
I could
what
get more volume. Just give me a half a second here.
Okay. We can certainly hear you fine.
I don't know what happened. I just, oh my goodness.
So here's what I'll do. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Pam and ask her to introduce who Giant Tiger is for those that don't know. And while she's doing that, maybe Marvin, you can find your volume level. So Pam, what the heck's Giant Tiger?
Good morning, everybody. Giant Tiger Stores Limited is a Canadian retailer. We have about 250 stores across Canada. In French, it's Le Tigre Géant. We are a private-owned company. We are 59 years old. Some of you have not heard of us because we're Canada's best kept secret. Our stores are not usually in town centers. We are mostly in. Pardon me as I mute my phone. We are centered in. We are situated in smaller towns. We are like a family store with food. We sell food and hard goods and soft goods. We're a one-stop shop. We're value priced, and for today's global economy, we are is situated in a positive situation, and that's who we are. Great.
Marvin, we can certainly hear you. So why don't you explain who you are, what you do?
Anymore?
No, we hear you fine. We see you fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, after hearing about Pam's General Store, like I said, congratulations to Giant Tiger. They've done probably the best job at retailing in Canada in the last 10 years. Them and the other guys from Ottawa, we won't mention them right now. I'm Marvin Libman. I've been a manufacturing guy in the Canadian market for 57 years. The first 27 years were basically all domestic. The last 30 years have been global. I work for various importers. I do not work for retailers directly because it's just not advantageous to my business. And I have contacts around the world, mostly in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, China, and Honduras. I have now established some working relationships in Africa, in Kenya, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Uganda. So the world is getting bigger, it's getting more complicated, and there's no secrets because communications are instant around the world. So people don't sleep anymore.
Very good. So let me just introduce who the Canadian Apparel Federation is. I sometimes host these sessions and never bother to do that. We're a National Industry Association, both Marvin and Pam are members, and through their organizations. And we deal on trade policy, tariff policy, regulations, labeling, all that kind of stuff that really no one else wants to deal with because it's boring stuff. But it's a sort of the nitty gritty, the mechanics of how goods flow around the world. There's no sense in making a garment halfway around the world for 10 cents less and you get it to Canada and you got the wrong label. I think that's probably a reasonable statement. So that's kind of what we do. We're based in Ottawa. We're heavily involved on the regulatory side. So maybe I'll ask you a question. I made an assumption at the beginning that, it's been a problem since March. Now, of course, Giant Tiger's been one of those retailers that's been able to remain open. But so what are the problems that you as sourcing people have encountered in the last 6-8 months? I mean, maybe Pam, is everything good? I mean, your stores are open, or have you had challenges?
So we were one of the lucky few Canadian retailers who were allowed to remain open because we are primarily a grocery store, an essential service. So during the hardship times of earlier in 2021, where the other retailers had to shut down, we were allowed to remain open. It doesn't mean that our clothing department did so well during those times that we actually, that was a very big challenge because, when we all went to COVID back in March, April, clothing was not top of mind, right? We all went for our essentials. We need food, we need shelter, we need to fix our homes, we need water, we need toilet paper. This is what people were buying. So Giant Tiger was able to remain fine because we do sell groceries and toilet paper and food, but the clothing department really nothing was selling. So at the same time as COVID hit and the sales were challenging, we also had to go home like everybody else did. So, my team and we went home like the rest of the company, the rest of us on this call had to go home at the same time as we know our friends in Bangladesh shut down for five weeks and also went home. And Bangladesh being an important partner to Canada, being a great duty-free country and a great country to source from, we're all shut together. So how do we manage this? How did we survive? Well, very lucky. We have very, very great resources, great people, amazing communication. We, got on chats like this and said, wow, let's have a plan. So I will say one of the best things we had in our company was mannequins. Up until that point, we were doing live models, right? We did our trying our samples of models, but we had the foresight to have mannequins at our disposal. So we had mannequins in the office, and the mannequins actually went home with my fit technicians. And we were able to send parcels to people's homes and work on samples of people's homes on mannequins. So really, when you have a very strong team and then strong partners who understand and help, that's the secret. I apologize for all the dinging. My people are trying to reach me as I'm talking to you. So that's how we survive, by people, by innovation, by just getting together and making it happen. I'm going on. I'm going to talk also later about virtual, right? I'm going to talk a lot today about virtual, like we're doing virtually today. Everything had to go virtual, and everything had to go virtual overnight. And you need a positive team, you need a strong team, you need great people around the world that's going to do this with you and get on camera and just figure it out on camera what we all need to do to make it happen. And you say go in the store and I have great product because this is the result of great teamwork, getting together and just making it happen.
So Marvin, what about you? Sounds like Giant Tiger has come out of this pretty damn well. How about your clients?
I have to admit that my two main clients have come out of it pretty good. My group has excellent personal relationships with the factory owners and the managers and occasionally the agents on the other side. I have a very strong group in Bangladesh and in China. I have a terrific group in India. And like Pam said, everything's being done virtual. It's WhatsApp, it's just all the electronic communications, live at all hours, day, night. It just seems like nobody sleeps anymore. But there are challenges, especially out of Bangladesh, especially with the logistics coming out of Bangladesh. And if you ship to East Coast, it's now November as of the next couple of days. We're going to have the North Atlantic storms. We're going to have the snowstorms in Halifax. The trucks won't get in. The railways will be blocked. Believe me, whatever can go wrong will. So hopefully, my clients, I give them a time frame. If they want it in less time, it's on their own risk, because something always does go wrong, especially during the winter. I see Pam shaking her head. She lives it.
So let me ask you both a question. Some of those things were quite to be expected. You got to work at home, you got to be digital, you can't look at people across the table. Do you think, again, there's always this, it's not a tension, but it's a reality that some companies like to chase the lowest cost, and they move around among factories.
I have a philosophy about that, Bob.
Well, what's your philosophy?
Sometimes the lowest cost isn't the least expensive.
Correct. So do you think you've had a strategy to not move among factories, agents, and things? And is that one of the lessons here, that actually works when you have a high risk situation? I have my sense of it, but I'll ask you the question first, Marvin, then Pam.
Give me a half a second. I'm going to mute myself for a half a second.
Okay, why don't I switch to Pam first and then Marvin?
Sure. So I'm going to respect the fact that we're at a sourcing show, and the whole premise of the sourcing show is to find new sourcing. So I'm there. So in respect to that, I'm going to say vendor partnership. There is a blend, right? There's a blend to long-term partnerships as well. There's always room for somebody new, but you can't just jump, as you said, Bob, and I know, and Marvin's going to concur to me. You can't jump to supplier for like 2 pennies. It doesn't work. Even as a low-cost retailer, we know this. It's not just about the 2 pennies. It's about the 2 pennies, and your model is not correct. Because especially in times like this, where we had to go together as a community, right? If there's people who didn't know us, and I'd be calling them and say, "Hey, I need your help," they say, "Who are you?" But as community, we were able to get on the phone, or get on WeChat, WhatsApp, FaceTime, whatever the tools we were using, and first of all, be empathetic towards each other. Everybody's in the situation together. So what could we do as a global community together? And you could only have these conversations and relationships based on a sustainable long-time relationship, right? If I just met somebody, they're going to go, "Oh, you want a favor from me? I don't even know you, right? And who are you with your 5,000 pieces? Go away from me." So it doesn't. I don't mean anybody. I don't mean anything to anybody. But in having these long-term relationships, and it's so in this time, absolutely, this is when it was most necessary. But even just general, when you're working with a company, and if somebody else comes in for 2 pennies less, the work that on your team in Canada, right? First you have to bring in samples, and then you have to bring in the fabric, and then you have to, all the communication has to go back and forth, and there's a lot of work, the hidden work that you don't see in the cost sheet. Your overhead costs, the courier costs. We all know it's $100 a courier. Before you turn around, it's $500 in couriers, right? And Marvin's laughing. He knows. Right?
Courier costs are out of control.
Well, we are like the #1 sector for FedEx historically, right?
Well,
So same question for you, Marvin.
Just to say, as Pam said, it's about the relationships. It's about the cooperation. It's about the partnerships with the factories. And sometimes they'll help you out. Sometimes you have to help them out. It's a two-way street, because they have to make a living. And if they don't make a living, they're not going to be there for you next season. So it's a balancing act. And basically that's the way it works. It's the way it's been working for me. Thank God. For a number of years.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so Pam hinted at it. Like you still are looking at new companies as potential suppliers. Have you changed how you do that, or just do you have an agent, say, in territory that's able to do all that stuff? I mean, you usually don't want to visit before you start shifting gears, but I mean, has that changed?
Let me address that for a minute. Up until I guess in my case, 2 years ago, and by accident, I stopped traveling. But with the pandemic, it's impossible to travel now. And my philosophy has always been, you got to go to the factories. You have to see it. You have to smell it. You have to touch it. You have to see the people. You have to see that they really have a first aid room, that they really have a doctor on site, that they really have the fire alarms. You have to see these things. And unfortunately, the younger people can't travel anymore. Old guys like me, I don't want to travel anymore. But really, you have to see. So if you don't have a team that you trust implicitly to go into new factories and see them and watch the samples being made and really get their finger on the pulse, it's pretty scary to go to a new factory that you don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pam.
You're absolutely right. So, November is around the corner. It's the first time in my career that I'm not traveling to Asia in November. And it's tough. It's I want to. Trust me, my husband wants me to go. Like, when are you going already? Get out of here. So no, there's no travel, and we don't know when we're going to travel. To be honest, 2021, we're planning to travel.
Well,
so what do we do? So it's we are having virtual meetings with our suppliers to fake travel to make sure we maintain the relationship the best we can. But in sourcing new factories, so I'm not saying no, we are trying, but we do have people in country. We don't have our own office, but I do have people in country that can go to factories and who understand us and understand our taste and our thinking and are helping us. Say this is good, this is not good. So we are counting on them more because we definitely we can't sit still. There's country strategy, right? We all see if one country, China, shut down in January, if you didn't have production in another country, you would have shut down 100%. But so you have to have diversity in country sourcing. Right? You can't put all your eggs in one country. So China, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia, India. You have to spread it out. And to do that, okay, do I have enough in this country? I need to source another country. So yes, we are still sourcing. Absolutely, we can't. But carefully. We're doing it, but carefully.
So
with the intention that back in the spring, we'll be able hopefully to travel again and go back to what we love to do, go to factories, as you say, smell it, meet it, meet the
touch
people.
It, feel it, see who else they're working for, see the level of quality coming out of the factories. You have to see these things for yourself. And I'm fortunate. I have a terrific partner in India, a terrific partner in Hong Kong that travels China exclusively. I have a terrific partner in Bangladesh. However, there's still no substitute for going yourself. And I have to admit, once the pandemic is over, I will miss the travel. But my boss at home already read the riot act to me. She likes having me home. So after all these years, I think I'm going to retire from traveling. But I'll let
I don't think anyone's going to be traveling for a while, so I'm going to, I'm going to spoil your husband's day, Pam. I think travel is going to be off for a little bit longer than that, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. Question, sort of switching gears. Maybe it overlaps with what you're saying. The U.S. imports from China, obviously, they're making it hard, whether it's through tariffs or human rights issues, making it real hard to import from China. Are you being impacted by that? Now, I think both of you are primarily sourcing for Canada, but do you find that things are impacting you at all?
Yes, 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 and yes. I'm sourcing for people in the United States as well as people in Canada. Various brands are giving us a very hard time because they don't let us produce in Bangladesh, but they want Bangladesh prices. And that's a trick that I really haven't mastered yet. And unless, of course, I steal the yarn somewhere. But some of it is very, very difficult with the US retailers going through my customers with their demands for audits, health and safety. And not only are they demanding on the audits, they're demanding on who the auditor is going to be. So like they have specific audits. Disney, for example, needs a specific audit and you can't produce them in Bangladesh. Coca-Cola, you can't produce their product in Bangladesh and they have specific audits. Lego, they insist on an audit by Intertech as opposed to SGS. And, you know, it creates major problems for the factories in India and China.
And is it worse because of the exodus out of China?
Well, partly the exodus out of China and partly the non-ability to produce in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like cutting both
Top
legs
two
off.
producers are off the table.
Correct.
So Pam, are you impacted by this? Or
So
are
luckily,
you?
I work for a Canadian company,
Yeah.
and as Canadians, you know, we're loved worldwide. So we are welcome everywhere, and we welcome all to us. But I am seeing what the Americans are making it challenging for people is, as Marvin mentioned before, supply chain. Wow, they're mucking around in our supply chain, and also they're not buying the way they used to buy. Like they're asking for much shorter lead times, or they're coming in with their orders. You know, I need a month delivery, and they're coming to factories and they're grabbing capacity. So before we were able to plan, and now it's because the Americans have changed their buying patterns, is affecting our buying plan. So we have to work our way around the Americans as usual. But so this is the challenge that we are finding because of our neighbors to the south. But as far as like embargoes or politics, no, we're Canadians. We're all good. We're still loved by the whole world.
Canada's easy.
Okay.
Canada's easy. It's just timing. Canada's easy.
I
US.
will add to that though, but Bob, you don't mind.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have heard
go
though,
ahead.
you know, that in Canada we understand how to source and how to work. We know a difficult time, so how are we going to adjust? How are we going to make things easier? How are we going to do things faster? We're really, really good at this. And I hear some of the larger American retailers, they're still talking about, you know, lab dips, 7 rounds of lab dips. I mean, in these times, give me a break, you know. If
Not
you're
only
going
that,
7 rounds of lab dips, you don't have a very sustainable future lying ahead of you.
and they come by FedEx. So you have the charges.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
So you said that on one hand, Canadians are at an advantage because we actually handle sourcing pretty well. And so question, are your orders such that you're ordering smaller volumes, which has historically been the case, you know, and that those factories, no matter what the Americans do or whomever they're selling to, the Canadians get bumped? Do you still find that? Or is that actually true?
The answer is yes. Yes, sometimes. But again, it comes down to relationships and long-term relationships and historical success between you. And I haven't really had much problem getting bumped by US orders. So I'm probably lucky that way. But I know some people that have.
So I'm going to say we've probably been bumped, maybe not by Americans, but definitely by European orders, some very large European retailers. But I will say what speaks loudest today, as it always has, and today more so than ever, is who could pay their bills, right? If you're going to take a risk on a retailer who's bank protection, going bankruptcy protection, in problems, you know, credit rating, #1 talker today, right? It's #1. So, you know, I'm lucky enough to work with a company that has an excellent credit rating. So the fact is, #1 thing today talks, as always, is money.
Well, let me
money
ask you
talks.
this. All these factories, especially in Bangladesh, they got screwed by British, especially retailers and some other European retailers. Are those retailers, as far as you understand, able to go back into market and get credit? Because if you look at the absolute volumes, it's staggering how many retailers left their suppliers high and dry.
So from my understanding, most of those goods have now been taken. Surprising in the market today, if you're looking for stock, there isn't very little stock available. All right, you know, there was a very hardship that went on in March and April, but it seems that factories have gone out in that. You know, the stock has been taken, the stock has been used. The Europeans, I will say, are pretty credible. They're honorable when they can be. You know, if they say they're going to do something, from my experience, most of them do. You know, so the factories that were able to hang on for the 6 weeks to 2 months that were difficult have come out of this and are okay. They're okay. We know there's a lot of factories which shut down that were not able to manage through it, but the majority were.
So for the factories you use, are pretty much all of them still in the game?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, mine also. I didn't lose one factory. And further to what Pam said, a lot of the Europeans, even though at the outset they threatened to not take the goods or not pay, they all seem to have ponied up because, hey, they all need the goods again, you know.
Yeah, unless they were in protection and, you know, whatever, in restructuring. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So Pam, a little while back, you said digitalization, you know, you've really changed some processes and stuff like that. What specifically do you think you've done? So again, this is kind of like, okay, so you guys have managed it. For the most part, your factories are stable. Sounds like it. So what have we learned? Obviously, we learned, you know, don't switch horses in the middle of the race. You know, try to stay with a small, stable, either factory base or agent base or whatever. So what have we learned, or what have we changed?
So I learned that our industry, not a new learn, but it's even more so. Our industry is not very good at using our digital tools. We are not advanced enough in digital tools, and we need to get there. We need to get there fast, because right now is what we need them. And we look out there, what tools do we have, right? We have this, we have, you know, Zoom, and, you know, we have internet chat, we have our phones. There's PLM system, that's, you know, and there's also, we're looking at you know, our whole the 3D avatar systems now are suddenly becoming very popular. Is this the answer for everything? Don't know yet. It's a very expensive way to go, but it is a tool, you know, where, you know, the larger retailers are looking at more and more, are purchasing. So number one, there is a need in our industry for more virtual tools. So right now, but we are very resourceful using the tools that we do have. So as I mentioned before, we have mannequins. So mannequins, it's not something virtual, but it's not a human being. So what we've walked away from really quickly is live fit models, because you can't have a live model anymore with 3 people in the room and trying it on. It doesn't make sense anymore. So and we went overnight into, you know, full on mannequins, and we've learned that the change that we've done in 6 months would have taken us 3 years. So we have to change this overnight. And so, you know, making sure our suppliers are also buying mannequins and teaching them that, you know, make the garments, make your sample, put it on the mannequin. I know it sounds so simplistic, but just to teach them to do this, put a mannequin, check that it actually fits. You know, look at your spec sheet, look at your fit, make sure it fits, show it to us. Show it to us, hey, look, it fits. And when we say, great, that fits, then you send it to us. Right? And this is a huge tool because it's going to eliminate FedEx, right? Save time, because Marvin also talked about before, supply chain, right? Supply chain right now is probably one of our largest problems, right? We can't get our goods. Even if we ship on time, the boat is stuck, or the truck is stuck, or the port is stuck. It's tremendous supply chains, which we can't control. So, you know, we have to give the time to allow the goods to come here. So we have to, you know, save time, but just make sure that we're not also hurting quality. But, you know, the more people understand how to use a mannequin and to see what a garment was supposed to look like, and then, you know, work with your partner on this, this is really where we're going to see savings.
So in terms of time, how much time does that save you?
Couriers right now are taking 2 weeks, right? So samples made, let's say 10 days, blah, blah, 2 weeks to come here, right? My team is not in the office every day because COVID, so I'm losing time. It's not their fault, it's when they're allowed the office. So I could be losing another week. So let's say it's going to take, after the factory sends a sample, they're not going to get a reply from me until 3 weeks, right? And let's say I'm rejecting that sample. Now they have to go make the sample. That's another 2 weeks. Now you're up to 5 weeks. They're going to send it to me. That's another now 3 weeks. That's now 8 weeks. We've left 2 months. And what's been
Wow.
done in the order? Nothing. So that
It's a
doesn't
big
work.
deal.
Not a sustainable
So
plan.
your 120 days just became 150 days.
There you go. So this is where we need to save time, is the couriers, again, 2 weeks at a time. You can't afford it. You don't have this time. So if you do the sample first correctly, put on a mannequin, show everybody what it looks like, you know, have a visual conversation with your fit technician, make sure the fit's good, send it.
Let me
It
ask
will
you,
save so much time.
the agents you have in country, for example, are they in factories helping you with that? I mean, who's gonna, you would think, you know, if you're in the position of teaching people how to use standardized mannequin, like there should be that support right there somehow. Is that something that you see happening? I mean, are factories going to take that on and run with it and do more, or is it going to be your agents? Who's going to do that?
Well, the feedback I'm having from my factories who are listening to us or are doing this have seen already the time and money being saved. So it's just getting them to buy in, right, into the program, understand this is like, it's not just my time and money, it's your time and money.
Yeah.
So once they understand that, they see the benefits, they know they have to do this. So yes, do we have a helping country? Yes, we have to. You know, there's still
The factories, at the end of the day, the factories have to invest, and they're starting to see the value. Right.
Look, a mannequin costs $3,000. Okay. Yes, it's a lot at the beginning, but look at the courier packages, right? 30 courier packages, you're done. You paid for it already.
Especially if you need 3 samples, you got $300 per sample right there, just courier charges. And time. It's all about time.
So Marvin, what else has changed in the way you handle things like this? Do you, first of all, you seem to agree with Pam, but I mean, are you doing, are there other things that are coming along technology-wise that support things?
Well, when it comes to ladies wearing fits, yes, I agree with Pam. Fortunately for me, in the last year and a half, I've been doing mostly casual and streetwear. So if it's a little big, it's okay. You know, the fit is not that important in most of my product. So, but yeah, they've been doing a lot of virtual. They've been doing a lot of get somebody in the factory to try it on. Let me see it on FaceTime, or let me see it on WhatsApp, or, you know, but essentially they're doing everything they can to speed up the process.
Right. And of course, on the logistics side, we're screwed. I mean, there's no way that things are going to change. We're still going to have snow and all that other stuff.
I could tell you right now that the cost of freight over the last 7 months has gone up by 50%. So a container today from Bangladesh, a 40-foot high cube, is over $6,000. So it was 4,200 6 months ago. And
Well,
I'm sure Giant Tiger is feeling that also. They move more cans than I do, but I'm sure their freight rates have gone up exponentially.
Like everybody's has.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So do you see any, we've spoken mostly about Bangladesh. Have any countries, I mean, again, Bangladesh was pretty much shut down. Vietnam has handled things better. Are there particular, and again, even in China, I mean, China, we started the problem with the pandemic in mid-January when people were saying, "What's my factory going to stay open?" You know, and so, you know, we've gone through 5 different crises for COVID-19. You know, we're on to the 6th, I think now, and you know, which country has there been any difference in terms of how different countries have handled it? I mean, if you are in China and you've continued in China, you're looking good right now. I mean, correct. Obviously, if you're sourcing for Canada, you have fewer Americans there at the same factories. So maybe things are even better. So which countries, we've talked a lot about Bangladesh, but which other countries do you think have done better?
Very, very difficult, Bob. Vietnam is, I did a lot of business in Vietnam over the years for tailored clothing, as you know, because that client was a member of the association. But now I find that pricing out of Vietnam is just, it's in the stratosphere. We can't compete. The Americans are there and they're just gobbling up the production. All the needle time is being gobbled up. So I find it impossible to work in Vietnam right now. And in Cambodia for Canadian orders is very difficult because their MOQs are quite a bit higher. So, and
So if
I
you're,
wish I had more information on Africa, but like I said, I'm just starting. It's only about a year that I'm working with my guy in Kenya, and we'll see how that develops. I'm not rushing there, for sure.
well,
but-
the one challenge about Kenya is you get duty free into the States, but you don't get duty free into Canada.
Well,
And
by the same token, Bangladesh, you're duty free into Canada and not duty free into the US.
absolutely, absolutely. So Pam, what about you? Different countries, different experiences so far?
So I'm going to say all my vendor partners have really stepped up. It doesn't matter the country; they've all done everything they possibly can to keep doing whatever they have to do during these times. At the beginning in January, like when China shut down and they reopened, you know, we was really concerned, and then now they reopened. They opened a while ago, and extremely resourceful. People there are always very resourceful. I'll give you an example. I was at a call the other day, and we were talking to a company from China with a production facility in Myanmar, and they had their person in Myanmar on the call with us, and the person in Myanmar was in a lockdown, and while she was on the phone with us, her power went off, and then a moment later she like lit a candle so she could continue the conversation without complaining, without saying what am I going to do. She just got it done, and that to me, shows the resourcefulness of the people, of China. They'll just figure it out and get it done. And that is very, very respectful, very, it's innovative, it's exciting. So yes, we do keep buying from China. I do have I have some product from there, and I'm not running away from this country. It's a great country. It's a great people, resourcefulness. Do what it takes to get the job done. I'm also working in Cambodia. As Marvin said, challenging in Cambodia, right? Again, this is where Canadian quantity doesn't always work. Different. We can't send people from China into Cambodia to watch what's going on. Challenging. It was a more difficult season this year than usual at Cambodia. Don't know what the future is in that country. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. And of course, Vietnam, as Marvin said, all the Americans are pouring out of China, going to Vietnam, and that's got nothing to do with Vietnam. It's got to do with tariffs. And
right. It's all about tariffs.
So, again, I don't know if Jason's listening in. I don't know if there are any questions. Maybe I'll allow him to rejoin and see if there are some from the people that are listening. I think what we've heard so far is, maintaining a stable sourcing plan with factories that are appropriate for your needs, that you don't change from time to time or any more than is absolutely necessary, is the first lesson. The second lesson is maybe you need to change some of your processes, and maybe you need to work with your factories to do the same. And the third thing is, well, I don't know if there is a third thing. I think those are the first two probably nail it. So those, I think, are the lessons we've heard so far. Jason, do you have any questions, any comments from the listeners?
Yeah, I just had one come in actually. Question one, hello, good morning. I'm not sure if I can ask this question in the session. I am Catherick from LC International. We are the manufacturer of fabrics, fashions, and hygienic products. My question is, how do you accept new suppliers after this pandemic?
We touched on it briefly, but maybe Pam, you want to just speak to that?
Sure. So I'll be honest. We at Giant Tiger are inundated with people trying to become our suppliers. I have to tell you personally, I'm afraid to go on my LinkedIn account because I must have 700 invitations sitting there. Sally, I'm not exaggerating. So to become a new supplier today, yes, it is very hard. You reach out to one of the sourcing managers, but they do have, no exaggeration, hundreds of emails to go through some new people. So, make yourself stand out. Make yourself, I don't know, put a nice picture on the email, say, hi, I don't know, take a interesting approach, and send source managers an email, and that's how you get in contact with us.
Marvin?
Okay.
I can't really talk to that because I don't really change suppliers. So,
Marvin, would you say that one of the things that sticks out in your mind with the supplier is how well they manage the relationship? I mean, sure, they might have a superior service and good communication, but as far as how they handle the client, do you think that's a very big positive
absolutely.
in terms of fostering the
Absolutely.
relationship?
I don't know if you were listening before, but one of the main points that I made was the relationship between you, us, whoever, retailer, supplier, agent, sourcing consultant. The relationship between them and the factory is of the utmost importance. You have to have the trust in each other because in today's world, trust has to go a long, long way.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's something in business and especially in the apparel industry with technology, coming in as quickly as it has, sometimes it can get lost in translation that this is essentially a people business. This is a relationship-based business. This is a bunch of people trying to communicate as effectively as possible to get their products to the end consumer. So I think that's something that needs to be remembered as technology continues to progress and as we start experiencing new ways to source and do business. So,
Well, with
well
the
said.
advent of WeChat and WhatsApp and FaceTime, et cetera, people are starting to talk to each other again, as opposed to sending emails. I mean,
Right.
the email volume is just atrocious. And a lot of people hide behind their emails.
Mm-hmm. I can't think of one person I've ever met that says, I love sending emails, quite the opposite. All right, got another question here. What can we do to cut the cost of delivery and cost of duties for us? So much harder to sell here in Canada. Is there anything we can do?
Well, just in terms of the duties, I mean, if you got a problem with Canada, I'm not sure on what basis. You've got duty free from Cambodia and Bangladesh, duty free from European countries,
And Honduras.
and Honduras in certain circumstances. So, if you got a problem with Canada, I mean, I don't get it. There's more. We're about twice as much that's coming in duty free into Canada. Now, I think the logistics issue about shipping and that other stuff is a legitimate question, but just in terms of tariffs, and I guess just one other thing, because given that the other company was also a fabric supplier, I think, I'm not sure or not, but we do have zero duty on all fabric. So if you do have a client that's a domestic producer in Canada, you can get the fabric into them duty free. On terms of logistics, I'll let you guys handle that.
Logistics have been a nightmare for the last number of months. I mean, it's just been horrible. We've had goods sitting on the dock in Chittagong port for 3 and 4 weeks before it gets on a feeder vessel. So with the best laid plans, if you have 120 days and it sits for 30 days on the dock in Chittagong, and then in Colombo, it sits for another 2 weeks, and before you know it, you miss the season on that goods. So it's been a nightmare. It really has.
You had any success?
I wish I knew the answer.
The only thing I could recommend to anybody is don't be late. Don't avoid air costs. Give the trucks and the boats enough time to deliver. Don't be late. That's the best advice I have.
So when you were giving 120 days, give 150 now.
No, to the suppliers, don't take 150. Deliver on the 120.
Yeah. Better to be early on the 150 than late on the 120.
Sage advice. Okay. I think that is all we have. Let me double check to see if any of our Facebook viewers have said anything. No, we do not. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to thank our panelists here this morning for giving us all this valuable information and their insights and experiences on what's going on. So again, I'd like to remind everybody that we have a live Hangout function at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen once you enter the digital platform. Our partner speakers and ATS administrative staff, including our matchmaking people, will be in and out of there all day. It takes the place of the show floor, And please make sure to check out the exhibitor hall as well. Icon link down at the bottom of the screen. So thank you so much, Marvin, Pamela, and Bob, for your contributions this morning.
Welcome, everybody.
Here.
Please stay safe.
Same here, Will. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everybody. Stay safe, and thank you for joining us today.
Great. Thanks, Jason, for arranging this.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Okay. See you later.
Take care, you guys. Yeah.
Bye.